welcome back to Khakis and Coffee. Today we're with Coach Fertita, and I'm Jude Papillon here with Connor LeBlanc and Scotty Black.
Thank you, Jude.
Thank you, Jude. And thank you, Coach Trita, for being here with us. We would like to start the interview off by asking, how long have you been a coach here at Catholic High?
First of all, I love the name of the podcast. I got my khakis and got my coffee right here. But this will be going into my I was here for 3 years in one stint, and I came back, was an assistant for 3 years in another stint, and then this will be my third year as the head coach coming up. So going into my 9th year coaching and teaching at Catholic.
What's been your favorite thing about being a coach at Catholic High?
I'd say just the community in general. And that involves a lot of people. That involves the students particularly. I really enjoy working with our guys. You go visit other places and talk to other coaches, and you hear them complain about their kids and they got to deal with this and deal with that, and I just kind of nod my head and smile because a lot of those things aren't problems that we deal with here. And then that filters over into the teachers, like all of the teachers here. They treat their subject area like I treat a football game. They get prepared. They try to be as good as they can possibly be. Our administrators, our parents, I think it's just the full community is really what, to me, is so great about Catholic.
So what is your favorite thing about football games here at Catholic High?
I like watching our kids work really hard and then get to put that work, on display on a Friday night. And then, obviously all the students in the stands, the band, the cheerleaders, the Bruinettes, the whole community, again, coming together to celebrate on a Friday night. And, it's not just about the team and the kids on the team. It's a full community kind of celebration.
How beneficial was it for you to coach under Coach Weiner before stepping into the position as head coach here at Catholic High?
From a sheerly football standpoint, Coach Weiner was a coach that liked to run every possible play that ever existed in football. So because of that, I had to learn all this stuff that I didn't know before. And so it really forced me to learn a heck of a lot of just straight, sheer football, X's and O's football. That was probably the secondary benefit to that. The primary benefit, it was just being able to work under a coach who didn't see his job as being a football coach, but saw his job as the ministry of that. And watching him operate that way and learning how to really be a football coach, but be somebody who sees it more as a ministry than as just their job.
So you're not only a football coach, but you're also a teacher here and you're a parent at home. So how do you manage to juggle all of that?
Not always the best, I mean, it becomes a juggling task, when you're at home and you got to get some film watched, but you got to get kids fed and put to sleep, and my wife works full time too, so that all of that can kind of create some interesting nights at home and early mornings at school and late nights at school, all of those things. So I think the hardest thing is to keep it all in perspective. Sometimes it feels like something has to get done right this second, and if it doesn't, something's going to fall apart. And one of the things I've had to learn is just, sometimes it can wait till tomorrow, and so just kind of putting things into perspective and that kind of thing. And then teaching, I was an English teacher for a long time, and that was really difficult because I think teaching English is one of the more difficult subjects for a coach to teach because just the time involved in grading and all that kind of stuff. So I do miss the English classroom a little bit.
So have you come up with a slogan for the football team this year, and what is the significance of the slogan for the team if you have one?
Well, we don't really do like a slogan from year to year. One of the things I kind of believe in is if it's a good enough slogan for 1 year, then it's probably a good enough slogan all the time. And I think we've built a culture here around the Kerdog mentality, the Kerdog philosophy. I think when you couple that with the things that the brothers have taught us, for example, courage and trust is something that we've hung our hat on for the last 2 years. Those things don't change. One thing I learned from my dad, he always said, we take never changing principles and adapt them to ever changing times, and those principles from the Kerdog and the principles from Andre Quandra, those don't ever change. The times change, but those things don't ever change. So we just kind of keep rolling along with that.
Could you kind of explain where that Kerdog culture came from maybe to like the incoming students who don't maybe know who Bob Kerdog Kane is?
Yeah, so Bob Cade was a motivational speaker, I guess. If he heard me call him that, he would be really upset. And he spoke to the football team on the first day of practice leading into fall camp. And he did that at Catholic for about 25 years. And his main message was just one of toughness, grit. He talked about being on the line when he was in high school, meaning, he would run wind sprints and the coach would always holler on the line before they ever even finished the one that they were running. They had to turn around and get right back on the line and run the next one. And Bob Cade was also a recovered alcoholic, so he realized during his recovery that the only time he'd ever been called on to go when he didn't have anything left at all to go with was when he was in high school playing football. And when he was an alcoholic, he lost everything, and he realized he still had to go when he didn't have anything left to go at all. And so we still have some of his recordings, his talks, and we play those for the team. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2012. He was a dear friend of mine. He was an extremely dear friend of Coach Weiner's. I mean, they were friends for 25 plus years, and he would call after every game. He would call Coach Weiner and see how the game went, and followed the team. Catholic high football was very, very dear to his heart.
So how do you feel that the football community as a whole has impacted the rest of the Catholic high community, being the teachers, the students, even the people that are outside of the Catholic high community looking in?
That's a tough question just because we try to be so inclusive at Catholic. In a lot of places, the football team or the football program kind of rules the roost, so to speak. And I certainly realize that at Catholic, we're just one piece of the rest of the puzzle. That being said, when there's thousands of people in the stands on a Friday night, and it's the opening sport of the year, football very much so, I think, sets the tone for the school year. I've been in programs where the football team didn't have a very good year to start, and the school year as it went on just kind of had a similar tone to it. And then other times when the football team has a really, really good year and you have great hardworking kids and those kids are on display every Friday night, other people can't help but sort of try to emulate some of those things.
Right. So per usual, we close out these interviews by asking the teachers, what kind of suggestions do you have to incoming students that may be listening to this, or to even students here that are trying to become more participated in their community?
Yeah, a lot of times, parents will come to me who have kids that are interested in playing football. They're 7th graders, 8th graders. And, from the outside perspective, all they see is Catholic high football. They might go to a game. Some of them may have never even stepped foot on campus. And what I tell them is there's so much other good stuff that goes on here that if you only come here to just play football, or if you only come here because of the great academics, or if you only come here for the religious value of the school, you're missing out on all the other really good stuff that we've got going on. You just look around at the teachers who are passionate about what they do, and there are so many other, the honor board, for instance. What a great organization to try to be involved in, aside from being an athlete. I think about Zach Crawford, one of our starting quarterbacks a few years ago, who was an honor board president. He was in National Honor Society. He was the starting quarterback at Catholic. Those are the kind of guys that get the full experience when they're here. They fully participate in lots of things, and that's my advice that I would give to incoming students or young students who are already here is, man, get the whole experience.
We would like to thank Coach Fertita for being with us here today. Thank you, Coach. We very much appreciate it.
Awesome. I need to find out where to get the Khakis and Coffee podcast on my phone.
We'll let you know.
Thank
And
y'all.
this has been Khakis and Coffee. Please join us next time for another episode.